What if Napoleon stayed a revolutionary instead of becoming emperor? History remembers Napoleon Bonaparte as the man who rose from the French Revolution, only to crown himself emperor and rebuild the very kind of system the revolution tried to destroy. But what if Napoleon had made a different choice? What if instead of trying to rule Europe as a monarch, he tried to reshape it as a revolutionary? Not a conqueror chasing glory, but a long-term statesman building a new order. Not an empire, but a republic strong enough to outlast the old world. The biggest change in this timeline happens in 1804. In our history, Napoleon crowned himself Emperor of the French, shocking many former revolutionaries who had supported him. To them, it looked like the revolution was over, but in this timeline, Napoleon refuses the crown, not because he is less ambitious, but because he thinks bigger. He understands something most rulers don't. Empires fall when the ruler falls. Systems last longer. Instead of becoming emperor, Napoleon remains first consul of the republic, defender of the revolution, and general of the nation. France stays a republic, but a disciplined one. Napoleon now focuses on something he's always cared about, not just winning wars, but building a state. He expands the legal reforms of the revolution, strengthens the education system, and builds a bureaucracy based on merit instead of birth. Promotion in the army and government comes from service, not aristocratic titles. In fact, new laws require that high officials must have served the nation, either in the military, administration, or engineering corps. The message is simple: no man shall rule who has never served. This gives the republic something the old monarchies lacked: legitimacy, not from tradition, but from achievement. Napoleon still fights wars. Europe's monarchies still fear the revolution, and coalitions still form against France. But when France wins, the outcome is different. Instead of placing his brothers on foreign thrones, Napoleon creates sister republics. In Italy, in the Rhine, in the Netherlands, and in parts of Germany, new governments are formed based on French law and revolutionary principles. Feudal privileges are abolished, careers are open to talent, taxes become more equal, religious minorities gain rights. For many people, life under the new system is not perfect, but it is better, and that is enough. Because once people get a taste of a better system, it becomes much harder to try to go back to the old one. One of Napoleon's worst decisions in real history was trying to turn Europe into a family empire. He made his brothers kings, forced countries to obey him directly, and pushed reforms faster than people could accept them. In this timeline, he avoids that mistake. France leads, but does not try to own everything. Local elites are allowed to stay as long as they accept the new laws. Some states remain monarchies, but with constitutions. Others become republics allied to France. Napoleon wants France on top, but he wants the new order to grow naturally, not by fear, but by comparison. France cannot defeat Britain at sea, and Napoleon knows it. So instead of trying to blockade Europe completely, he builds something else. A continental trade system. France, Italy, the Rhine states, Netherlands, and Poland trade freely with each other. Reforms spread, infrastructure improves, markets grow. At the same time, France supports independence movements overseas. Latin American rebels gain recognition. Trade opens with the new republics. Colonies slowly become partners instead of possessions. The goal is simple. If France cannot destroy Britain's economy, it will outgrow it. Napoleon also understands something else. Britain is strongest when the war stays on the continent, so he looks for a way to bring the conflict closer to home, via Ireland. French agents support Irish rebels, hoping to create a republic on Britain's doorstep. Even a small Irish state forces Britain to spend money, send troops, and deal with unrest at home. It becomes a constant thorn on Britain's side. The war between France and Britain slowly turns into something new. Not just battles, but a struggle between systems. Monarchy versus republic, tradition versus merit, empire versus revolution. As the years pass, Napoleon changes. He still leads armies, still wins victories, but his focus shifts. He builds schools, trains officers, reforms the law, strengthens administration. He knows he cannot live forever, so he prepares France to survive without him. A generation of officers, officials, and politicians grow up under the Republic. Men who own their rank to service, not birth. Men who believe the system works. By the time Napoleon reaches old age, France is no longer just strong, it is stable. In our history, Napoleon falls in defeat. In this timeline, he dies in power. An old man, still respected, still feared, but leaving behind something far more dangerous than an empire, a system. Across Europe, monarchs see their chance. Without Napoleon, they think France will collapse. Coalitions form again, armies prepare, diplomats talk of restoring the old order. But when the moment comes, France does not fall. The army is still loyal, the republic still stands, and in Italy, Germany, Spain, and beyond, millions have lived under the new laws, too many to forget what they tasted, too many to go back willingly. In this world, the Napoleonic Wars never truly end, at least not the way we understand them. They become something slower, longer, and more dangerous. Britain becomes the master of the seas. France becomes the center of a republican continent. Monarchies survive, but they must reform to compete. Revolutions come earlier, ideas spread faster, and the balance of power turns into a balance of systems. Napoleon never rules the world, but by refusing to become emperor, he may have changed it more than he ever did in our timeline.